If you're a new gold and silver investor, it doesn't mean you have to take all your assets and buy gold and silver all 100% in. Don't do that.
Right.
Like if you have 5%, go to 10. If you have 10%, go to 15 and don't even look at the price. It's not This is not a trading game. We're not trying to make dollars by buying gold and silver. We're preparing for what is inevitable, and what is inevitable is that the dollar will collapse, and when it does, wherever we are, if the dollar survives for 3 or 4 more months otherwise would, it's going down. The question is, how much liberty will we have at the point where it does collapse?
The dollar's difficulties are largely self-inflicted. Incontinent fiscal and monetary policy, with the U.S. budget deficit and government debt at around 7% and over 100% of GDP, respectively, has diminished the dollar's long-term purchasing power. Since 1972, it has fallen by 99% against gold and lost 90% of the purchasing power of real goods and services. According to the World Gold Council's 2024 Central Bank Gold Reserve Survey, a majority of the world's central banks expect gold's share of global reserves to increase through at least the next 5 years, just as they expect the dollar's share of reserves to decline over the same period. Rafi Farber is a passionate market commentator and advocate for precious metals investment and the future of currency. Regarding the dollar collapse, Rafi shares his outlook, suggesting that the decline of the US dollar is inevitable. He believes Trump's election could briefly delay this decline, but also observes growing weaknesses within political elites, like the deep state. The US dollar index is fueled by the Trump trade, which is steamrolling through markets for a second day. There is even a Goldilocks scenario on the table where the Fed is still cutting while markets are cheering ahead of President-elect Donald Trump taking office. Concurrently, Rafi questions how much freedom people worldwide, especially in the US, Canada, and Israel, will retain if the dollar collapses. For new investors, Rafi recommends a cautious approach by starting with a small gold and silver allocation and slowly increasing it, perhaps from 5% to 15% of assets. He emphasizes this isn't about short-term gains, but safeguarding against a future dollar collapse. Gold climbed 35% to nearly $2,800 per ounce from the beginning of the year to early November. Silver has done well, too, with an even more impressive 43% rise over the same period. Now we present the clips of Rafi Farber's insights from his recent interview. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
I'm not a technical trader, and I'm not going to be nitpicking. Is it going to take 2 months? Is it going to take 4 months? I don't think it's going to take 4 years. All right.
Right,
Could I be wrong about that? I can be wrong about anything.
right,
Um, but it could be that Trump's election will have the dollar survive for, let's say, a few months more than it otherwise would have.
right,
But like, what do I care? I don't care. Like in this world where I'm in, I see where we are. We're in like a much more important position. Like everyone alive right now, you, me, everyone watching this, anywhere in the world, we're in we're in a global political revolution right now.
yeah,
And this is exciting as hell. It's scary. It's scary because we don't know where it's going to lead. We don't know what's going to happen.
right,
We don't know who's going to be assassinated tomorrow, God forbid. We don't know what the deep state is going to do. But the deep state is under attack. The deep state that we all hate, it's really under attack right now. They couldn't stop Trump from being elected. And whatever you want to say about the deep state, they didn't want this guy elected. I'm not saying that he's going to succeed. He might fail.
right.
But we see that there is a weakness. There's a weakness in the other side, and that's what's exciting me. So wherever we are, if the dollar survives for 3 or 4 more months otherwise would, it's going down. Where will we
Yeah.
be as a culture? You in Canada, us in the United States, them in the United States, us in Israel. I don't know if Israel's going to be directly affected by this, or America's still the core of the secular society here,
Right.
and they will call the shots on what's going to happen with the general relationship between government and people in this world. If you're a new gold and silver investor, it doesn't mean you have to take all your assets and buy gold and silver all 100% in. Don't do that.
Right.
Like if you have 5%, go to 10. If you have 10%, go to 15 and don't even look at the price. This is not a trading game. We're not trying to make dollars by buying gold and silver. We're preparing for what is inevitable, and what is inevitable is that the dollar will collapse, and when it does, the question is, where does the purchasing power go? It's not like when the
Right.
dollar collapses, it's not like, oh, all of a sudden all the wealth in the world collapses. All that happens is the people with the dollars, one day they thought they could buy X amount of wealth. All the wealth, all the real stuff, all the houses, all the cars, all the food, all the businesses, they still exist. Nothing
Right.
burned down. The question is, who can buy it now? Is it going to be the people with the Bitcoin? Maybe some. Is it going to be people with the dollars? No.
No.
Is it going to be the people with real estate? A
Yeah.
little bit. But who's going to be able to buy the most? It's going to be the people with the most liquidity. And the question is, what is the most liquid commodity?
Gold and
It's
silver.
first of all silver, and then when there's no dollar, it's going to be silver, and then second of all, gold.
According to Rafi Farber, the U.S. is on an unstoppable path toward dollar collapse and a global banking crisis driven by an exponential monetary curve. While he doesn't believe Donald Trump can halt inflation, he still finds Trump's election somewhat reassuring, as it signals some preservation of liberty. Trump's promises to impose massive tariffs, deport millions of undocumented workers, and potentially influence the Federal Reserve would weaken growth, boost inflation, and lower employment, according to a recent working paper released by the Peterson Institute for International Economics. The researchers found that inflation would climb to at least 6% by 2026, and by 2028, consumer prices would be 20% higher. Looking ahead, Rafi hopes that figures like Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. can address corruption in critical sectors. While Farber acknowledges that Trump may bring some economic benefits, but his role will be limited to redirecting inflation away from the most corrupt sectors. Let's get back to the interview.
I'm really not sure how it's going to affect the economy. I think the economy itself is going to follow the monetary curve that we're on, which is exponential. So I don't really see the Trump-Harris thing as effective on the economy. I'm not saying it's not going to be. I'm saying that's not
Right.
what I'm focusing on. We have the collapse of the dollar to deal with. I don't think Trump is going to stop that. But I'm not a Trump guy either. I'm not a MAGA guy.
Right.
I didn't vote. I'm happy. I'm relieved. I'm relieved that Trump was elected because it shows that there is some amount of liberty left in the United States, which is the core of liberty values in the world.
Right.
And the way I see it is, look, we're going to head into this end game. We're going to head into the collapse of the dollar. We're going to head into a banking crisis across the world. Trump's not going to stop that. But what he can do is preserve whatever is left of liberty as we head into that.
Right.
So that's what I think is going to happen. If what he's saying, I'm not like a Trump fan
Right.
in terms of Trump, but if he does follow through with what he's been saying, that he will protect freedom of speech, he will protect social media from being censored by government, and he will preserve what is left of the First Amendment, and at least that, and especially if RFK is able to go into the medical arena and really clear out the corruption there, and I'll let you imagine what that means, and I
Yeah.
think you can understand. Then we can really clear out the worst of the corruption before we get into the banking crisis, and hopefully there's enough time to do that. Um, Obviously, like in a broader sense, I think Trump is better for the economy. But like, since I still know we're headed into that end game and that he's not going to stop it, it's not it's not like that. I'm happy that Trump is elected because I think stocks are going to go higher. He
No.
can't stop it. The way that I put it to a friend of mine I was talking to about this is like Trump can't stop the inflationary process, right? Once
Right.
you're on a fiat system, you can't stop it,
Exactly.
right? But what he can do, what he has the power to do, is stop the inflation from going into the most corrupt and worst sectors of the fake economy.
To sum up, gold's purchasing power is remarkably stable, but only over the very long run. However, real gold prices are currently higher than 50 years ago, meaning gold has not lost its purchasing power. Farber's advice centers on resilience through practical investments in tangible assets as the world braces for economic shifts. With these insights, will gold and silver reclaim their place as pillars of global financial stability as the dollar's role diminishes? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, don't forget to support our channel and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the next video.